Hello, everybody. It's Andrew's weather predictions here. Today we're gonna be talking about upcoming wave of significant severe weather and probably a severe weather outbreak. And I know the dates are a bit far out, but the models have just been so consistent with what I'm about to talk about with this severe weather. But let's just get into what we have right now. Currently have a bunch of small craft advisories and gale warnings across the coast of the United States, and gale watches, for freeze watches in these light blue shades. These bluish shades are going to have frost advisories. This is a hard freeze warning, and these blue shades, this is where you have freeze warnings at. Special weather statements and wind advisories and fire watches in the south for fire danger. Red flag warnings across portions of the southwest, and a special marine warning in Florida for a complex of strong thunderstorms. Let me go on GR2, just check it out. We will go check out that complex there of showers and thunderstorms, just to give it a little bit of a look. Trying to check, okay. Looks like we have a stronger thunderstorm right here with some lightning. These don't really look to have much lightning at all. Lots of lightning is offshore. 73 dew point though near Tampa with a temperature of 77 degrees, so it's very moist in Florida. I'm only going to look at two products, and that's going to be velocity and reflectivity. So boom. Actually there is looks like there is a little bit of rotation here in central Florida with this cluster of weak thunderstorms. Off the coast we have some isolated strong wind gusts as well. That's enough of that. Weather Prediction Center, we have a flash flood risk in Florida today, and then a thunderstorm risk there tomorrow, and a severe weather risk in the northeast. I do think a slight risk is possible for damaging wind gusts. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but we're not going to go too in depth on that. Day 3 could have some isolated thunderstorms across the plains. Nothing too significant quite yet. Let's go into the fronts map. Heavy snow is likely going to be falling with mixed precipitation across the Midwest, and I picked up around a dusting of snow before it got all sucked up or got all melted. I really don't want the snow, so I'm honestly glad with this. Anywhere in kind of this area right in here, you're going to have the potential for snow squalls tomorrow, and maybe some thunderstorm activity as well with some of those. So move along here, we start to see we get the moisture to start to go up across portions of the United States. And then here's Friday. Friday, we're going to have a severe weather set up across portions of Texas, Oklahoma, and maybe southern Kansas and southern Missouri. Western Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and into Alabama are going to be a target as well. Now, this area looks to be more of an overnight severe weather threat, so you're going to have to keep your guard up. Saturday, the severe weather will likely target southern South Carolina, lots of Georgia, Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, and portions of inland Florida Peninsula, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Sunday, maybe some thunderstorms in the northeast with an incoming low pressure, and some in Florida are possible. Monday, no real threat of severe weather or anything, just a lot of rain across the northern U.S. Tuesday, this is a day that's looking very significant in terms of severe weather potential. You're going to have severe weather potential all the way from potentially Minnesota all the way down through Oklahoma. Anywhere in this yellow area is where you're going to have severe weather potential. With this, it's a bit uncertain where we'll see severe potential, but we know that the potential is there for a significant outbreak. It's just where will the outbreak be? That's all we have right now. The rainfall over the next few days, several inches of rain are possible in the south on today and over the next couple of days. Excessive rain outlook, we have a slight risk for day 1, nothing after that. If you do end up looking at the fronts for just day 7, this is a concerning look. A surface low in Nebraska, a secondary surface low down in Colorado, and a dry line. This is going to promote very volatile atmosphere. You're going to have that warm front further north, that surface low, and then this low right here, it's going to translate into kind of like that northern Kansas, southern Nebraska area. Here's the Storm Prediction Center. Today we have a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms for the western Florida Keys, for the Florida Peninsula as well. Includes the potential for a brief tornado. brief tornado, isolated damaging wind gusts, and isolated large hail. Tomorrow, the SPC only has a wind risk. I do think there's potential for maybe a brief area with hailstones, and a brief tornado is also possible, in my opinion. We might see a slight risk. I'm not sure we will, though, because probably the storms will move offshore within the time that they have. Let's go look at the let's go look at the HRRR. We're gonna look at the 18Z run for that severe weather event up into the northeast United States. So here is around tomorrow morning. Some isolated showers are possible. Then around late morning hours, we're going to start to see a few prefrontal storms develop and a line develop out in front of the line. We see here a favorable environment for some damaging wind gusts and large hail will be possible with that upslope convection. And right around, I think this is 12 p.m., 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, you're going to start to see these thunderstorms really start to get kicking off about 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We see soundings that are favorable for wind gust and maybe some large hail. Couldn't rule out a tornado with that one. You can see here some more prefrontal storms develop. I'm going to try to take a sounding right there. It's probably going to get contaminated. Yeah, it's going to get contaminated. We're going to take a sounding kind of central New York here. This shows favorable atmosphere for, yet again, just damaging winds and large hail. The dew point is not that high. Right around here, though, we could have more potential. And actually, this is the 12Z run, so let me move up to 18Z. Sorry, showing old model data. But you get the point. The 12Z actually has it a bit further to the west, too. Or the 18Z. You can see here, the stuff fires off a bit further, just a tad bit further to the... Actually, it fires a bit to the east, but it actually gets consolidated around the same time. And still, the wind risk is still there. And the hail risk is still there, I think. The tornado risk is not as prominent on this run as it was with the last one. There's not as much instability. I mean, this will give you maybe an isolated tornado, but it's not as prominent with the last run as it was with this one. See here, anywhere in pink, you're going to have potential for isolated, strong to severe thunderstorms in pink. Right in here. The area with the highest tornado potential is probably going to be somewhere right in here with any of these embedded supercells. And then maybe there could be a secondary target with tornado threat kind of in here with those leading edge supercells. There is a little bit of a severe risk also into the Delmarva region. It's not that high, though. As you can see here, the severe weather risk is going to die down right around, I'd say, 21, so that's like 5 p.m. I'd say right around 6 p.m. it's going to be more of a heavy rain risk than anything. The instability, it's washed away. So it's going to mainly just be a wind risk. Now let's look at Florida. Just going to look at their area over the next few days. So you guys are going to get a lot of heavy rain. Kind of look at it for the rest of the day today. For the rest of the day tonight, we're going to see isolated strong to severe thunderstorms across Florida, with maybe actually some severe thunderstorms maybe some sort of thunderstorm activity. It looks like tomorrow afternoon some thunderstorms fire off in southern Florida into the Keys. I do think if this happens, we'll get like a 2% tour, 5 wind, 5 hail kind of type scenario. Then we move on. Nothing really happens. Maybe Florida Keys could get some thunderstorms on Thursday, but anything real significant happens. I'm kind of waiting for this NAM to load a little bit more to show you Thursday, but I don't think it's going to be able to load enough for this vid. So we're going to have to go with the 12Z NAM, and just note by the time this is up, we're probably going to have new model data. Well, let's kind of just look at the NAM. Let's look at the forecast loop for kind of this area here. Just show you. So we have snow at the beginning of the period. This was earlier this morning, of course. This is right around when the video would be going up. Right around when the video would be going up, so like 4. And then this is probably getting into the afternoon hours. This is Thursday morning. We could see some showers linger these areas, and then boom, this is Friday, right around 18Z, we start to see some convection fire across central Texas. If I do end up taking a forecast sounding here, we have a favorable environment for some large hail, damaging wind gusts, and potentially a tornado. Look north of the Houston metro. Again, a favorable environment for all hazards being possible. I do think the main hazard with this will be very large hail. But there is going to be that tornado threat you're going to have to watch out for, and it really starts to get going once this lower level jet kicks in. This is right around the time the lower level jet really hasn't kicked in yet, and then boom, the lower level jet starts to kick in. End up taking a forecast something kind of like right around here. Look at that. A very large photograph with 500 SRH in the 2000 Cape. Surface-based thunderstorms very, very low to the ground. So we could have some larger tornadoes if the NAM were to verify with this profile. We have supercellular wind profile in the lower levels with some turning up in height. Lapse rates are favorable. The lower levels aren't too great. We do have some 3 Cape, especially. We do have a little bit of 3 Cape, and we have downdraft Cape. So I do think all hazards will be possible. No, scattered damaging wind gusts with some being significant, maybe a stronger tornado or two, with a few tornadoes being definitely possible, and then scattered and potentially numerous very large hailstones are definitely going to be a hazard. And here you go. This sounding is a little bit more 3 Cape than the last one. Don't worry about the hazard type, unless it's a box sounding, and then maybe you can worry about the hazard type. But you see a large photograph here. Some decent lapse rates in the lower and middle levels. Some 1000 Cape or so. Not too bad. Let's just stop it at frame 84 so we can get a good look at this and absorb everything in. Dew points, anywhere. And also, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here because there's going to be a threat for maybe some large hail and isolated wind gusts across this area right in here. Now, of course, this area isn't going to have a tornado threat, but if we do end up taking soundings over there, there's some showers and thunderstorms that get going. If I do take a sounding kind of northeast Oklahoma, you see here, there's a sounding that's very favorable for some large hail in the middle levels with those middle level lapse rates, and the middle level lapse rates are the only thing it's going to be able to tap into because it's not going to be surface rooted. But it's also going to have a little bit of wind potential too, due to a deep layer shear of around 50 knots there. But of course, this is not going to have any tornado potential. This area right here would be the area to watch for some isolated large hail, damaging wind gust, a possibility too. And then the blue area is where you're going to have to watch for tornadoes, wind gusts, hail, all that stuff on Friday, Saturday kind of area. Maybe in these pink areas as well as we get the timing better. We'll see about the pink area right there. We'll see if they get anything. But the blue area for sure is likely going to see some storms. But if we do looking at the 500 millibar air pattern here, we do see a trough coming in. It's not the best trough ever. It does have a little bit of a negative tilt to it. You got 40, 50, 60 knots of 500 millibar flow with 850 millibar flow cranking, especially in especially in that eastern Texas, western Louisiana area. If you end up looking at your mixed layer Cape, we do see anywhere between 1,000 to 2,500 to nearly 3,000 in some areas, on top of storm relative velocity of anywhere between 300 and 600 to 700. If we do look at those crossovers here, and I'm going to zoom in now. Look at those Cape crossovers, very favorable. That one in Oklahoma there. I'm gonna check mark the ones that are favorable with instability on them. Favorable for tornadoes and supercells at least. So as you see here, most of these get the check. For being favorable. Now, some of them, like on the western side of the risk, by the dry line, like these right here, these aren't as great. These 4 right here aren't as great, but they're still decent. We're going to take a box sounding across portions of like central Texas into Oklahoma here. If you do end up taking that box sounding here, you can see here. We have 200 storm relative velocity. We have some low-level varying for supercell activity. We have a lot of high lapse rates across the area. 3 Cape of 120, 2,000 Cape as well in the surface, and 2,000 in the mixed layer. I do have that dry slot here enhancing your energy, and we have a large area of instability here. Fat Cape profile is what you would call that. And that has enough deep layer shear. It has deep layer shear of 55 knots, which isn't bad. So that's not terrible. If I do end up taking another, I'm gonna take an individual sounding up in Oklahoma there, right where the surface low here. You see here, a favorable sounding there with 200 SH, 3000 cape. Now, the NAM doesn't initiate anything in that area with this latest run. Actually, it's going to be loading up right close. So this is 21Z with the new run. Let's take a forecast sounding there, Central Texas right here. That's a very favorable sounding there for severe weather. I'm just going to print screen that, not print screen that, but put it in that area. Here's Houston. Again, favorable for severe weather for sure. Let's look right at that surface low right there that develops. 3000 cape with the new run at 21Z. We're gonna wait around for this. That's actually a lot of instability here. So it looks like the new run shows more instability than the old one. Yeah, larger area of instability. Doesn't look like that Oklahoma target is as prominent as it was the last run. I'm gonna take a box sounding across this area too. Central Texas. Low level jet doesn't look like it's kicked in quite yet, but there is some decent dynamics there. Yeah, it's about to kick in. What was it last run? Was it around that? It was a little bit stronger, so it looks like the low level jet last run was anywhere between 30 and 45 knots widespread across the warm sector. This run, it was only 25, 30 knots, and let's see what 0Z does. Okay, so 0Z, it has that low level jet around the same as last time, not quite the same. Maybe some thunderstorms trying to initiate up there in Oklahoma, but the environment just won't be that favorable for tornadoes. So it looks like we could have a target in kind of south and central Oklahoma. If anything initiates, we're going to see a potential for tornadoes. But the area that we're going to have storms that are going to initiate is going to be in here. So we have a couple target areas with this event, and I do want to look at the crossovers with Cape and stuff up there. I'm going to just take a box. Okay, so it looks like there's going to be a favorable area up there. Just take a box something right there. Yeah, that's favorable. There's enough energy. There's actually 3000 cape right here. I'm going to take a box sounding like this, kind of including a large area right in here. And, I just got a box BDS tornado sounding. That is rare. That is rare. That does not, you don't get that very often. That's a pretty large area, too. Now, aside from the hazard type, we have a large hodograph with 300 storm relative velocity, 2000 cape, and decent lapse rates as well. You have a low LCL height, which is going to preclude the potential for surface-based thunderstorms. We have a fat cape profile right there. Not the fattest thing ever, but pretty big. That is, that's just very interesting. I'm going to take a screenshot of this so I can have it for later reference, but, wow. So let's go look over at the more longer range models. We're going to look at 3Z2. Why not? Looks like this environment kind of sticks there. What about Central Texas again? We'll see what we just get again. Not as favorable. Gets like a little bit more cap too. We'll see here. Looks like the thunderstorm environment really moves off. That's a very favorable sounding. My goodness. Right there. Looks like some thunderstorms do end up initiating in Oklahoma though at 3Z. But I'm getting a little bit carried away with this. Let's move on to the main, what was supposed to be the main topic of this. It's already been 18 minutes, so this is going to be a long video if you already haven't told. Let's first start off with the Euro model. We're only going to be looking at the European model and the Canadian model. Or not the Canadian. We're going to be looking at the European, UK Met, and GFS, and I don't think I'm going to look at the UK Met too much with this, but let's just look at the European. So this is going to be the 12Z European model. There's your first storm system. Here's Saturday afternoon. Due to taking a sounding in central Georgia there. A very favorable environment for tornadoes will ensue. We have that curvature hodograph there with some veering in the lower levels. So there will be a tornado threat and significant damaging wind threat and isolated large hail threat with this. And if I do end up taking a box sounding there, let's just take a look at that. Yeah, favorable for wind gusts, tornadoes, and maybe some large hail. Once that system moves off here, a new one already forms. This is Tuesday, the 27th of April, on the 10th anniversary of the super outbreak. The new Euro run wants to show a low pressure of 988 millibars in northern Kansas, southern Nebraska, along a large warm sector from southern Minnesota in through kind of this area right here with supercells. Now, I know this is a pretty far ways away, but the models have been consistent about it, and we'll check the GFS in a second here with that 12Z run, but look at that. High dew points in the 60s, anywhere in this yellow area, you're going to have favorability for those thunderstorms to develop. or for any strong severe thunderstorms to develop. And I did kind of butcher the yellow area a little bit. And then in pink, these are going to be 65 plus dew points, and that's a pretty large area of 65 plus dew points right there. If you do end up taking a box sounding across the warm sector, like I have the last couple of times here, you end up getting a PDS tornado hazard type again. Now I'm gonna get out of that. We're just gonna X out of that again. And just for reference, I took this in northern Texas, kind of extreme western Arkansas, extreme southwest Missouri, and south and central Kansas. We do have a moderate capping inversion, but sometimes you're like, a capping inversion, doesn't it preclude the environment? Well, with these kind of kinematics right here, the cap is just going to go up, up, and away. It's just going to break fast. You have a large photograph right here, too, with 400 SRH, high lapse rates. Now, we don't have that much 3 cape, which that could be a limiting factor. We'll see. We'll see when we get to short-range models how much D-cape and 3 cape and surface-based cape we have. But to have a surface-based cape and mixed layer cape of 2,000 plus is impressive for this far out with the models. And that's an averaged area too. If we do look at that 500 millibar trough, you can see here, this is a nasty look. Anywhere in this area on the leading edge of the stream would have favorability for severe weather. Really anywhere in here. And this is actually going to be very weird. You can see the 500 millibar, let's just say 500 millibar is moving that way. Let's look at the 850 millibar and determine what way that's moving. Look at that. 850 is moving a little bit of a different way there. 850 is kind of moving like that. Kind of something like that. And that's its turn in the atmosphere, and that gets your updrafts going, and that gets the storms more discreet. And these are going to form off a dry line. And these things, with the bulk shear being, let's just look at that bulk shear. With the bulk shear being 40, 50, 60 knots, these things are just going to fly off the boundary like it's nothing, if this were to verify. Now, as we go into the overnight hours, of course these things would go upscale, but still widespread. I'm just going to take a box sounding across this whole area, and we'll just see what we get for the memes. We got a none sounding, not surprising. Or not none, or not none hazard type, excuse me. It's capped, very capped in a lot of the areas. Now, Wednesday morning, we're going to have a severe weather risk across this area with the progression of the trough into the afternoon. Now, this risk is a lot more unclear. We don't have as much details as you do with the other risk. If you do end up taking some forecast soundings here, we see streamwise photographs of the year, but no instability. And I do think there will be more surface-based instability. Long-range models typically do not do good with that. Take a sounding out there in central Illinois, and I was not expecting to get that. That was taken right pretty close to my area, actually. I'm going to see how much instability there is up there. I'm kind of surprised I pulled that. Oh, it's a little bit of an area of cape. The year wants to kind of the storms to outrun the cape, which is interesting to have as a solution. It's definitely possible this happens, but I'm not too sure. If you look at the GFS with this, the GFS has a more consolidated scoreline kind of look to it. Has that more classic traditional Dixie look, large photograph, high shear, that kind of stuff. Around 18Z, we see the storms moving kind of slowly to the northeast. We see a favorable environment for those tornadoes and stuff like that. If we do end up taking a look at like that northern Illinois area, you can definitely see that. Now let's just look at the simulated reflectivity some more here with the GFS again. Let's just look at that upcoming like active pattern after that first storm system. We'll just look at the active pattern after that. So here's the first storm system. And it looks like there will be a severe weather risk on Thursday across portions of the South and maybe Friday across the Mid-Atlantic. And then the GFS, there's a new system forming on May 1st, and if I do take a sounding layer for that, now this is far out, so yeah, it's too capped, but this looks like we're going to get a lot of troughs, and another one forms in the south the next day, and another one. So it's just going to be a long ride for folks across this risk area. Let's just take a look at what the 500 millibar flow does just for a quick second here. See here, that 500 millibar flow just kind of gets enriched. We get those strong shortwave troughs. Now let's look at the shield model. I haven't looked at this in a little bit. Let's just take a look. This is going to be valid Thursday. This is going to be valid Friday. Right around 15Z, it's showing storms, supercells firing in the early morning. A batch in here, a batch right here, and a batch in the ocean. around in the late afternoon, we see that vigorous area really just push off to the east here, and the next day we see multiple rounds of thunderstorms too. So that's why there's a pretty significant risk in here. And I actually didn't look at the day 4 through 8 outlook with you. We do have a 15% for day 4, and we do have a 15% for day 5, and we're probably going to get a day 7 15%, and potentially a day 8 15% as well. Let's look at the GEFS mean supercell composite. So this is going to be for Sunday and or Saturday across the south, and here's Friday across kind of target area. As you can see here, we get supercell composite values of 4.5, so that's pretty high. And this is a mean, so this is not max or anything. And then here's Monday, and then here's Wednesday, or Tuesday. Now, Tuesday is a little bit uncertain on where the area will be. It could be anywhere really in this area. And the biggest severe threat could be anywhere in here. We're uncertain about where the biggest threat will be. We know there will be a significant threat, we just don't know where the biggest one will be. And then the next day, on Wednesday, it looks like the threat area is more confined to this area, but still there is some uncertainties with where it will be. After that, the mean is ending up showing another trough on May 1st and more stuff into May. So it's something to watch out. Now we're going to look at the instantaneous flash rate and then call it a day. We'll just look at the instantaneous flash rate real quickly with the euro. We've already looked at the euro today. We're going to loop it too. So we're animating it so I don't have to click my mouse anymore. But as you can see here as we move along, just the animation speed. There's those intense thunderstorms down here. And then, boom, there are your supercells with that system. So that's just a basic look at what's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks, and more in depth on some of the stuff too. Have a good night. I will see you all in the next one.